has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
It's Ferrall Coast to Coast in the biggest way possible right here on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty. Go for the two. Joe Lisi joins me momentarily, as he always does, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays on C2C. Very busy day today, of course. We have afternoon baseball, some baseball tonight, rain pending in a few places. We got big NBA slate, couple of hockey games. Final Four this weekend, the golf Wednesdays on C2C, and a very big trade in the NFL that came down earlier today. Very big, of course, for my Buffalo Bills as well, so we will discuss that, too, to get things cooking here today. We start, as always, with the birthday roll call. Let's go. Damian Williams, 32 today. Jay Bruce at 37. Jared Allen, 42. Deshaun Stevenson, 43. Tommy Haas, 46. Tommy Hamilton, 49. Koji Uhara, 49. Greg DeLong, 51. Rodney Hampton, Giants, 55. Mike Lansing, 56. Purvis Ellison, 37. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. So as I mentioned, a very big trade in the NFL earlier today. And surprising, yes, when you first see this morning that Stefon Diggs is going to go from the Buffalo Bills to the Houston Texans. I think we all knew the Texans were probably looking to add one more big piece on offense. The Bills had stripped down a lot of the pieces that they have had for the last few years in the past few weeks, that's for sure, especially on the defensive side. But the Diggs trade, it wasn't very much a surprise at first to me. But when you sit and you process it a little bit, it kind of makes a little bit more sense, despite some of the ramifications that are going to come for it for Buffalo. First of all, we welcome in our radio affiliates, Ferrall Coast to Coast, on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 159, Sports Byline, and, of course, the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio in sunny Southern California. Great to have everybody with us here today. So the Bills trade Diggs to Houston. They'll get a second-rounder back in 2025, so not even this year they get the second rounder. The Texans are going to get a couple of late-round picks in return as well, and the Bills will have a dead cap hit of about $31 million for this coming season, and that's it. It's a one-year, basically, pill that they're going to have to swallow, and then they'll be out from it after that. It tells you a couple of things. The Bills were so desperate to get rid of this guy that they get a pick back that's not even this year. It's next year. And I know it's still a maneuverable piece for Bean when we get into this draft in a couple of weeks for next year's second rounder. But to eat all that money that they wanted him out of the building that bad. And I don't think it was all that. I don't think it was all the tweeting. You saw it again yesterday. Somebody was talking about, I think it was Robert Griffin III, about Allen and elite wide receivers, and fans started saying, he doesn't really need one. And Diggs was going, you sure? Diggs has had a lot to say on social media. There's been a clear rift between Diggs and Allen for a while now. Diggs and the Bills organization for a while now. And I think that stuff's very tolerable when you put up the kind of numbers that he did his first 3 years in Buffalo. But when you look at the last 10 games of this year and you look at the 3 games that the Bills got eliminated in the past 3 years, I'm not saying it's all his fault, but the numbers were not very good. And sometimes you take all those things and you mix them together, and it's just not worth it anymore. And I think that's kind of where the Bills finally got pushed to with Stefon Diggs. And I think they got the absolute maximum that they were ever going to get out of him in those 3 years. And if you go another year with him playing like he did at the end of the season, you're going to get nothing for him, as opposed to getting a second rounder next year for him and swallowing some cap. So we'll get into that with Joe. We'll talk about the Houston side of this as well. Some very interesting odds movements for the Houston Texans based off of just this move. Some big jumps up the board for them, both in the Super Bowl and the AFC. We'll get Joe's thoughts on that as we get going today. Gabe Morency's with us every day, of course, Sports Rage Late Night. He'll be here in hour number 1. I'll talk to him about the Diggs trade. You know that. We do have afternoon baseball going on. I'll get you up to speed on everything that's going on today. We have a couple games that did get washed away, so I thought all the rainouts would be last night. The only rainout was the Tiger-Met game. They're already rained out again tonight. Braves-White Sox never got going this afternoon in Chicago either. That's finished. Angels are beating the Marlins again in Miami. Twins losing in Milwaukee again to the Brewers. Rangers are up 1-0 on the Rays in the 8th. A classic getaway day, 2-hour special right now on a Corey Seager solo home run. We have a few games starting in this hour and next hour, including the Yankees and the Diamondbacks that will get going out in Phoenix. And we got games tonight. The Pirates looking to stay undefeated in D.C. We'll see if the Rockies and the Cubs play. Toronto is in Houston after a big ninth inning for them last night that they needed badly, and the Giants and the Dodgers will get together once again. Hour number 2, we will touch on the Final Four quickly. There was a couple of numbers that moved today, specifically in that UConn-Alabama game that we will take a look at for Saturday night as the spread and the total both have a little bit of some movement. We know our NIT final for tomorrow night, Seton Hall and Indiana State. We'll get it going in Hinkle. Then we will start Golf Wednesdays on C2C. Cam Stewart is with us, of course, every Wednesday. We'll do the outrights, the top 10s, 20s, and 40s, the first-round leader bombs for the Valero Texas Open, as that is where we will be this week, the last event on the PGA Tour schedule before our first major of the year, the Masters in Augusta next week. We've actually got big caddy news in golf, too. Perfect for a Golf Wednesday, as one of the top players in the world cuts ties with one of the more well-known caddies, Justin Thomas and Bones getting going their separate ways here. Bones been doing a lot of TV. So to change caddies a week before a major, very strange. We'll talk to Cam about that and with Keith Stewart from Read the Line in hour number 3 because he's with us on Golf Wednesdays as well all the time here. We've got Coach in hour number 2 with the Lion's Share. We'll get his NBA plays for tonight. Davis Maddock in hour number 2. As always, we'll see what he's got cooking for tonight, and he's got some golf for us as well, which we always like to see. We got NBA. Embiid returned for the Sixers last night. Funny how that worked. They had the report, what was that, on Monday morning? Oh, he's going to try to come back Tuesday. Out on the injury report, an hour before the game. Oh, by the way, he's playing. Yeah, they'll get a bill from the NBA for that one. They've already gotten that once this year. From the NBA with how they handled the Embiid injury report. They're going to get another one for that. Lakers with the win in Toronto. Big night all around for those guys. The Wizards beat the Bucks. The Bucks just absolutely limping to the finish line here. Heat beat the Knicks in Miami. Nuggets beat the Spurs. Very close to the quadruple-double for Wembanyama last night. Just couldn't finish it off. I mentioned Keith Stewart is with us from Read the Line in hour number 3. We'll go through all the NBA for tonight, including OKC in Boston now. On a back-to-back, they need every win they can get in that race for the 1 seed in the West. We have got other football news as well, besides the Diggs trade that we'll get into in hour number 3 as well, and lots of hockey tonight, too. Ferrall coast to coast on a Wednesday. Carver High for Scotty. We'll get Joe in here next. SportsGrid Radio. We get it going right after this.
NC State, the Cinderella story continues.
It creates a double team and then gets an assist. 3 assists already. Everything's going through the big man.
Maybe one of the most dominant runs now with double-digit wins and 2 straight NCAA tournaments we have seen in quite some time in the Big Ten.
Zach Edey does throw elbows. Zach Edey does duck in with his shoulder. Zach Edey does initiate a lot of contact. Oh, he got it!
Bama runs a style that can challenge them and upset them.
Only on SportsGrid.
You want a lefty jump hook? He got you. Alley-oop, got you. O-board, got you. Folks, the 7'4" monster did it up and under with the left hand. As much as Zach Edey is a unicorn in the sport of college basketball, you could say the same thing about DJ Burns. old school.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Talk all you want about how fat he is. No one can guard him. No one can stop him. He's a violent offender. He does whatever he wants in the low block and at the 10. He just does whatever he wants and scores at will, ad nauseum.
They're the Mike Tyson of college basketball. At some point, they're going to throw a haymaker. And when it connects, Ferrall, you're not getting up.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
For Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Dude, did you know BetMGM has responsible gambling tools so you don't get carried away?
I never get carried away. Well, there were the bobbleheads. And the playoff beer.
Chili's ready!
Well, those tools could really help.
Don't forget about the backyard rink.
Yeah, these tools are pretty great.
BetMGM is committed to making gambling safe and fun with responsible gambling tools, so you don't get carried away.
And we are back, Ferrall, Coast to Coast, here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty. We'll get Joe in here in a moment. But first, we always love to tell you that BetMGM, they're at it again. They're giving away free money, this time in North Carolina, where thankfully the green light is now on for them. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app for at least $5, and you'll receive $150 instantly in additional winnings regardless of your outcome. You got to download the app on iOS or Android or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $5 into your newly created account. New customers here. Place a wager in the amount of at least $5 at standard odds price. Once you have placed a bet, you will receive $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your wager. Make sure you use bonus code GRID. That is, of course, GRID. And get involved down in North Carolina. BetMGM, they are doing it again. You love to see it, that's for sure. Of course, every Tuesday and Wednesday, you get the extended version of the very popular SportsGrid radio show, Carver and Lisi, with myself and the encyclopedia of this week college basketball. The one, the only. Go for the two, Joe Lisi. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Carver. Actually, we haven't spoken since we got off air last night. I'm mad at you because you took us in on that Luka performance, totally gutless in the fourth quarter. The kid had 28. We needed 12 points. Did he shoot in the fourth quarter? Because my guy, Joker, got us 42. He cost us that parlay. Would have been a slam dunk if we would have did it the other way. Again with this Luka in the fourth quarter. Gutless.
Well, Luka was tied to everything, so it didn't matter, Joe. Luka was involved with it all. So you were on Joker. I was on Wembanyama. Nothing worked because Luka didn't make it happen.
Ended up being the game was close. Did he shoot?
A tight defensive game. Look at the thing didn't even get over 200. I mean, it was a tight defensive game, Joe. What do you want?
What does that mean? I don't understand. You're the star player. You're in the fourth quarter with the game on the line. You want to be a contender. You're craving for the rock. He passed it the whole game. In the fourth quarter, that's the sixth time he has done that on his way to a 40-point performance. Absolutely gutless. He's dead to me right now. He potentially could be dead to me.
Him. That's okay. So you went from last night wanting to back Dallas to win the West at plus 950 or whatever it was to now you're completely finished. You're completely finished with him now because you couldn't get your 40 points last night. In
the playoffs, I mean, maybe. But, I mean, right now, he's dead to me.
So it's selective. It's selective that we're going to throw him to the side.
Cost me money last night. I told you he's gutless in the fourth quarter. He didn't even get over his points total of 33.5 last night.
Didn't do it.
Yeah, 28. Terrible.
I want to get to this trade, Joe. Before I do, Rangers lead the Rays 1-0, top of the ninth. They have a Seager homer. That's been all the offense. Twins now down 1, 3-2. Brewers lead, top of the seventh in Milwaukee. Angels lead the Marlins again, 6-2, top of the seventh. The Marlins, Joe, are staring 0-7 in the face unless they can get a little rally going here in the last 3 innings. And they're still waiting in Baltimore almost 3 hours now with a rain delay. I'd give up at this point. The Braves and the White Sox, they gave up this afternoon, and they postponed it. The Mets and the Tigers have already given up tonight after last night not playing, so they'll try to play 2 tomorrow. We have a few games that start later this hour. We will get to them. But, Joe, I want to at least start this trade with you, of course, because we have a big NFL trade. Joe's happy. Football chalk right here at the top on Coast to Coast today. And, Joe, it is the Bills sending Stefon Diggs to the Houston Texans. They'll get a second-rounder back next year in 2025. You see the Texans get a couple of late-round picks in this year's draft and next year's as well in this deal. The Bills, Joe, will have to eat a $31 million cap hit this year because of this, but they'll be done with it after that. So they're choosing to swallow the pill that way, Joe. I'll just tell you what I said from the start. I think that Stefon Diggs was excellent in Buffalo. I think that he elevated Josh Allen to the player that he has become today in this league. But I think, Joe, that the Bills got the absolute max out of Stefon Diggs. And there's only so far you can go with the outside stuff. You could take the outside stuff, Joe, when you're putting up the numbers that Diggs did his first 3 years in Buffalo. But when you put up the numbers that he did this year, specifically in the last 10 games, and the way he performed in that playoff loss again to the Chiefs, the tweets, Joe, and the brother tweeting, and the not showing up for minicamp, and all the stuff that goes on with it, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze after a while, Joe, when it comes to all this stuff, when you're not performing at the level you did the first 3 years.
No, I agree with you, Carver. I'm shocked, though, that it's a second-round pick in 2025, not even a second-round pick this year. I mean, that's amazing when you just think about market value, but he didn't score a touchdown over the last 7 games of the regular season, and more importantly, dropped a big play against Kansas City in the playoff loss. I mean, right through his hands, and the locker room perspective.
Fumbled the first play of the game, too, Joe. Fumbled the first play of the game in that Kansas City game.
True, but the bigger play was the miss. I mean, that was an opportunity to go up in the fourth quarter. I mean, right through his hands. I mean, he's breadbasket. You got to catch that, one-on-one opportunity. But the locker room perspective, Carver, too. This team needs continuity. They need to be all bought in for 2024. It's either, boom or bust for Sean McDermott, right? He doesn't win, more importantly, get to the playoffs or at least challenge for an AFC championship game. I think he's out the door. So he's doing everything he can. You think he stays, but I think he goes.
I actually think, Joe, this move today is going to buy McDermott another entire year in Buffalo. I said this to you a few weeks ago. Listen to me, Joe. I said this to you a few weeks ago, and you yelled at me and got mad, but I'm going to tell you again, and this move tells it to you. They're not going to call this a rebuild because I don't think you'd ever actually rebuild when you have a quarterback who's going to be 28 years old in his prime at the start of this year. But I will tell you this, Joe. They are going to, behind closed doors, call this season a retool. They are going to move new pieces in. They are out with the pieces that have been there the last 4 years and have lost. They're going to get rid of that $31 million after this year. This is a retool. They are going to try to win this year with their eyes squarely on 2025 and beyond, Joe. That is what's going on with the Buffalo Bills.
Well, I think that's a terrible game plan, Carver. I'm sorry. You know, again, when you're right there within striking distance from Pat Mahomes and the defending Super Bowl champs, you have to smell blood in the water. You can't take, 2 steps back with the hopes of taking 4 steps forward in 2 or 3 years. That's not the way it works. You have a quarterback that's at the top. You can't.
But that's how you got to win in this league, Joe. How many steps back did the Texans have to take before they've now taken all these steps forward? How many you sometimes have to take steps back?
You have an MVP caliber quarterback.
But they're not going to take 4. You just said if you take 1 step back to go 3 forward the next year, I think you can live with it. If you still win the AFC East this year and lose in the division round again.
No, the fan base, you'll be doing them rotten. That's terrible if they take that type of philosophy. So you're telling me you limp to an 8-9 record, maybe somehow, some way you win the AFC East, you get
when you're good every
selection.
Year.
No way.
When you're good every year,
unacceptable.
Eventually, in this league, with the way it's structured, with the cap, etc., you got to tear some things down and get cheaper players in there and build it back up. And they're trying to restart the cycle with this guy right now.
We have to have this later. We got to get back into
coast to coast. We're back to
NC State, the Cinderella story continues.
It creates a double team and then gets an assist. 3 assists already. Everything is going through the big man.
Maybe one of the most dominant runs now with double-digit wins and 2 straight NCAA tournaments we have seen in quite some time in the Big Ten.
Zach Edey does throw elbows. Zach Edey does duck in with his shoulder. Zach Edey does initiate a lot of contact.
Bama runs a style that can challenge them and upset them.
Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
So I'm not sure Alabama is the team to knock them off from this second consecutive national championship chase. But what will be the key for the Crimson Tide if they can even cover a number?
That wing ball screen action and how you defend that is going to be a problem because the Donovan Clingan forces you to change so much what you do defensively if he's able to score inside.
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk all you want about how fat he is. No one can guard him. No one can stop him. He's a violent offender. He does whatever he wants in the low block and at the 10. He just does whatever he wants and scores at will, ad nauseum.
They're the Mike Tyson of college basketball. At some point, they're going to throw a haymaker. And when it connects, Ferrall, you're not getting up.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight You may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
And we are back from Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have you with us. Gabe Morency is with us every day here on Coast to Coast, of course, and every night on the Grid, Sports Rage Late Night, 10 p.m. East, right here. All right, Gabe, this is a perfect day for me and you to be together, of course. We're both Bills fans. The Bills have the big trade today in the NFL with Stefon Diggs going to Houston. Let me just tell you what I told Joe. I thought that Diggs was excellent as a Buffalo Bill. I thought that he elevated Allen to another level that he needed to be elevated to, and I thank him for everything that he did. But it kind of was at the end, right, Gabe? I mean, you look at what's gone on here. If he was still putting up the numbers that he did in his first 3 years, you can deal with the little tweets on social media and the brothers saying he should come to Dallas and not showing up for minicamp, and there seemed to be some rift with him and the quarterback. When you play like he did the last 10 games of the year and the way he played in the game against the Chiefs, I think they got their max out of him, Gabe, and we got to see what they do and what the wide receiver room looks like because it can't look like it does today. I think down the road, they probably are selling at the right time on Diggs.
Well, like a lot of things in life, more than two things can be right at the same time, right? There's often many different sides to stories, and I think you're onto something in the sense that I have fond memories of Stefon Diggs with the Buffalo Bills. Right? He played his heart out. Nobody wants to win as much as this guy. He's a big-time competitor. He stepped up in big-time moments. But at the same point in time, the production was in decline. Now, there was a big difference. Now, we saw when Brady came in and took over that the offense was better, right, than it was under Dorsey. But what else did we see? Stefon Diggs wasn't really a part of it. So I don't really know, and I tweeted this out. I think it's a little bit of both, actually. I don't really know fully. Stefon Diggs hasn't lost it. But at the same point in time, is he the same player as he was, let's say, 2-3 years ago? I don't know. But at the same point in time, I don't know how much the Bills, at some point, I think the Bills just sort of wrote him off. I think him and McDermott, I think McDermott's the type of guy, like, McDermott doesn't like drama, and we know this. Like, they kind of shy away from drama players. It's their MO. They don't like drama, the Bills. We want, team first guys. All right, well, how's that working for you? Sometimes you got to deal with drama, and what you do with the drama is you win, and you get rid of the drama, and you bring in new drama, right? So you're right. It had run its course. It couldn't go on. We can't go on every Sunday with him walking out of the room and tweeting this and that. Josh Allen can't do every interview where he's got to talk about Stefon Diggs all the time, but it doesn't mean that Diggs was a bust with the Bills or anything. No. I have nothing but I love Diggs. I have a jersey. I got an autograph, picture. Unfortunately, there's no good anymore of him in a Bills jersey. So I applaud him for his service with the Bills. I think he will help the Texans. This isn't new, Carver, right? Wide receivers are like singers, bro, and drummers in bands. This is what happens. I mean, he wasn't happy in Minnesota after a while, right, with Kirk Cousins. And in hindsight, how'd that work out for you, bro? How's Justin Jefferson doing there? How did, he stepped into your role. But then we can look at it the other side of this from the Bills' perspective, in which we're spinning our wheels. Let's just call it out for what it is. We draft players, and then they play on other teams after. Devin Singletary. We're drafting running back still. Singletary's playing well for the Texans now. So it's like, well, why did we do this? I got no problem with Kincaid. Well, did we have Dawson Knox? Yeah, but Knox isn't very good. Then why did we give him this big contract money if he's not very good? If we knew, well, we got to get another tight end. Why did we do this? Why did we trade the pick to the Kansas City Chiefs so they could get Patrick Mahomes? And I'm all sides here, Carver. If you want to look back in hindsight, we traded the draft pick to the Vikings to get Stefon Diggs. They got Justin Jefferson. So they have the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. We have the Houston Texans second-round pick. Right. Like, how come the Bills didn't know Carver and go, you know what, man? This Jefferson dude's unbelievable, man. No, we don't need to trade for Diggs. Like, this Jefferson guy's going to be a star. Because they don't know that. They don't see that. And now you got Josh Allen, who's making $1 gazillion. He's in Paris doing whatever the hell he's doing in Fashion Week. And he doesn't care. Everyone's gone. We got Curtis Samuel, who I like. But Curtis Samuel's hurt all the time. Yeah,
as a 3, I like him.
Yeah,
he's a 3.
You put him in a slot, exactly. He's not like, oh, we got Curtis Samuel. No. So, in other words, Carver, we're going into the season with what? Dalton Kincaid? Okay, and we got the draft.
No.
Dude, you trust them, like, not to take a cornerback or something? Well, dude, like, we don't have a big track record of striking gold on offense with players and wide receivers. And there's a million of them, and he'll probably take the wrong one. No, what are we doing? I'm just being real.
Making a move like this, you have to get it right. And I remember saying to you the week after they lost, I'm tired of drafting defense.
Let me just throw this in here. Unless they got some scheme where it's like, nah, you know what? We're about to trade for A.J. Brown because he wants out in Philly now. Unless they've got some sort of thing that it's like, no, don't worry.
Well,
we got this other vet coming in. Because, dude, what, you're going to give Josh Allen a bunch of rookies? Come on, man.
I saw some of the Buffalo people after this trade went down, Gabe, say that maybe they're going to be the team that makes the play for Ayuk from the 49ers to get it. Maybe that's the move that they make.
I thought we didn't have money.
Exactly. I know there's no money. But you're right about this. And I said this to you. I want to draft like 4 wide receivers in this draft. I'm tired of them drafting these defensive linemen who never pan out, these other guys. I would draft all offense, hopefully hit on 1 or 2 of them. You have to get the first-round pick right with wide receiver now that you made this move. And they're not going to say it, and Joe thinks I'm nuts. He just yelled at me. They're not going to tell you that they're rebuilding because they're not rebuilding, Gabe. But I think they're willing to kind of retool this year, get that $31 million off now next year that they're going to have to swallow this year, and then 2025 is when they're expecting to make that big push again with Allen.
I think that's a pretty I think that's logical what you're talking about. But the problem is they misspend the money all the time. Right? Look, Von Miller. All the money Von Miller got. What has Von Miller brought to the table for the Bills? It's just you add it all up. There's questionable. But at the same point in time, we could also argue, well, it wasn't working now, right? Like, he didn't win now, so I can also argue that. Like, I don't have a problem with Gabriel Davis. I don't want to pay him all that money either. I don't have a problem with Diggs moving on. I get it, but at the same point in time, Carver, is there a plan? Like, you can't just be like, well, he's gone now. Well, and then what? Like, do we have a counter? Like, is there a move after? There really doesn't seem to be very much. Even a ground game going into next year. All right, do you have is Cook the guy? You know what I mean? Look at all the running backs. We always signed the Latavius Murrays and the whoever's of the world.
Yeah.
Like, there's no plan. Leaders. What's the effing plan? Guys. And another thing I don't understand about the Bills, for a team that doesn't really have any superstars, how come they don't have any money? Like, I don't really get this. It's like, so Josh Allen makes money. Diggs made a little bit of money. Who else makes money? Von Miller?
Right.
Like, who makes money on this team?
Right. So that's the 2 biggest things is I think that after this year, the Von Miller money and the Stefon Diggs cap hit will both go off to free up this treasure trove of money that they're going to have to, use to then probably try to build up some wide receivers.
See, McDermott's getting defensive. People say we're not successful. We're successful. Like, you can tell, like, he's getting rattled now.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, dude.
He's getting rattled. And
you are.
He's going to get a free pass this year, too, now, Gabe. He's going to get a free pass this year. He is.
Well, dude.
He's going to get a free pass.
He ain't going nowhere. Look at the Sabres, bro. The Pagulas, they don't care. And let's just be real. You and I both know. All they care about is the new stadium now, all right?
That's the focus. But that's also
thing.
what the But that's also what this is all about.
Up to.
That's what this is also about. Getting everything in order to make that big push again when that stadium opens and have all the pieces aligned around Allen to make that their next Super Bowl. They're not concerned.
You and I are
know they're not
screwed.
winning.
Being a Bills fan,
they're not
bro,
winning
is like It's like we're waiting for Santa Claus to show up.
But
like, we think he's real.
Gabe, and I saw the odds didn't change. I still think, as long as they can get one guy that maybe hits in wide receiver in the draft, I still think they can win the division because Allen's better than all those other guys. 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers.
They're in the mix
I think
still.
they still win the division.
Yeah, like
still
I said, there's sort of these teams. Look, it's the same thing. We sort of say, like, the Bengals go through this. Wide receivers leave teams, guys. Like, point blank. Like, this has been going on for forever, all right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's been going on for, Alvin Harper left the
Jerry Rice
Cowboys.
Played for a bunch of teams. Remember, Jerry Rice played for the Raiders and the Seahawks.
Randy Moss, a pretty good wide receiver, right? What happened with him after 2 years? Yeah, I'm done here.
They wear out their welcome.
This is what they do.
They always do.
They're like the singer in the band. At first, it's like, no, he's really cool, man. You go out and party with a guy, he's super nice. He's much nicer than you think. And then about 2 years later, like, man, he's got a big ego, this guy. Or a big diva.
1 minute, Gabe. Give me something for tonight. Baseball, hockey. What do you got for me here? Give me a play.
I'm going with the afternoon action here, and I don't like just repeating myself. And it wasn't easy for the Red Sox last night, but minus 150 against the A's. They won. I don't care if it's, extra innings, regular innings, whatever innings. So I'll go back to it here with Pavetta today at minus 170. Baltimore lost last night. I don't think KC totally sucked this year. They're not going to win every day, but I got Burns going right now, Carver. So I'm going to go back to the well with Burns here today with the Baltimore Orioles. And how do you get in front of the Los Angeles Dodgers right now? I mean, it's unbelievable. And now they got Glasnow on the hill today.
I said last night was maybe the time, and they still won. They did a bullpen game, and they still beat the Giants last night. So, no, there's no night.
They beat the Giants' best pitcher. That's got to be
Beat
deflating
him
for the
up.
Giants.
I mean,
like,
Betts just wears him out. Gabe, we'll see you tonight. Sports Race late night, 10 p.m. East here on the Grid.
NC State, the Cinderella story continues.
It creates a double team and gets an assist. 3 assists already. Everything's going through the big man.
Maybe one of the most dominant runs now with double-digit wins and 2 straight NCAA tournaments we have seen in quite some time in the Big Ten.
Zach Edey does throw elbows. Zach Edey does duck in with his shoulder. Zach Edey does initiate a lot of contact.
Bama runs a style that can challenge them and upset them.
Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
So I'm not sure Alabama is the team to knock them off from this second consecutive national championship chase. But what will be the key for the Crimson Tide if they can even cover a number?
That wing ball screen action, how you defend that is going to be a problem because of Donovan Clingan, it forces you to change so much what you do defensively if he's able to score inside.
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk all you want about how fat he is. No one can guard him. No one can stop him. He's a violent offender. He does whatever he wants in the low block and at the 10. He just does whatever he wants and scores at will, ad nauseum.
They're the Mike Tyson of college basketball. At some point, they're going to throw a haymaker. And when it connects, Ferrall, you're not getting up.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka
is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
And we are back, Ferrall, Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on Sports Grid and Sports Grid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. Joe, I'm going to let you get back to what you were saying earlier. I did just want to say we have a couple games that just started now or about to start right now. I'll do the numbers for the 4 o'clock games in a little bit, but let me at least squeeze in the Red Sox and the A's are just getting underway. You have Pivetta going for the Red Sox today, Stripling going for Oakland. They have already thrown first pitch, so they're in the top of the first there. And that one, Sox right now minus 160 live for that game. And the other game just starting right now, Joe, the Yankees and the Diamondbacks in Arizona, where you have Rodon and Merrill Lynch Kelly going. Diamondbacks, Yankees small favorite here, Joe. I saw minus 115 right before they locked it up on me as they were about to start. Diamondbacks beat them last night, Yankees' first loss of the season. I actually think, Joe, the Diamondbacks get him again today against Rodon this afternoon before heading home after a long trip.
Yeah, don't like the sides, Carver. I like over Oakland and Boston, and I like under Yankees. So over
right,
the Red Sox, under in the Yankees.
Okay, I've got other games starting in the 4 o'clock hour, Joe. I'll save those, and we'll finish this football thing first, and then we'll get into those after, because you said that I cut you off earlier with the break as you were about to say something. And let's tell me what you think. We'll have a much more wide-ranging discussion of this tonight on the radio show where we have a lot of time to really dive into it. But go ahead, Joe. Go ahead and teach me a lesson as you were trying to do earlier.
Not teach you a lesson, Carver. If you're the New York Jets, I could see that type of methodology and game plan. But you're the Buffalo Bills. You're a team that has dominated the AFC East for the past 4 or 5 seasons. You have one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best, with Patrick Mahomes in regards to the AFC. He's mobile. He's got playmakers around him. You drafted James Cook. You have 2 of the better tight ends in Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, an above-average offensive line. The problem was the defense. You can't take a major rebuild or a hit where you're going to go from an 11-win football team to winning the division to regressing to 8 or 9 wins and saying, as a fan base, you're happy about it because don't worry, it's 2025 we have our eyes on. I mean, you're not the Kansas Jayhawks. I mean, come on now.
You're talking about the defense. I think that they've already proven, McDermott proved this year that without stars in the lineup, he can get the defense to a level where they can win football games. I'm not worried about him with the defense. I still have to see what they put together in this wide receiver room because there's clearly going to be additions here. All I'm telling you is, Joe, in fact, they're still favorites for the AFC East. I just told Gabe this, and I know we got the numbers too here. They're still favorites for the AFC East, and honestly, Joe, they should be. What I'm telling you is if they're sitting behind closed doors above it, I don't think that they firmly believe that they have a Super Bowl caliber roster this season. I think that their eyes are on next year and the year after when they can build even more. But that doesn't mean they still can't win this division, Joe. I think they absolutely still can.
They should win the division, Carver. They've owned the Miami Dolphins, and we talk about it. I mean, when the season was on the line, what did Tua and Tyreek Hill give you? That was a gutless effort, not just offensively, but defensively. That is not the concern. We know they can win the AFC East. The question is, you have to rebuild to where you don't lose momentum and you continue to progress. That is the plan. Suggesting that we're going to lose just because we have our sights set on another year is just like throwing in the season. I mean, that's a loser's mentality. You have to go in every year. We have the top quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks in all of the NFL. We have to put the players around them to compete and challenge for a championship. There can't be 2 steps back because guess what? There's no guarantee Josh Allen is going to be 100% in 2 years. I mean, that's just like laying up. I can't believe you, a diehard Bills fan, would say, you know what? We're taking a flyer this year.
I think that in this league, it's impossible to completely scrap everything down and then immediately have another Super Bowl caliber roster team ready that same year. I think that that's almost impossible to do in the NFL.
But there's no guarantees on what a Super Bowl roster is. I mean, did Detroit have a Super Bowl roster?
I'm talking about the core guys that they have now all gotten rid of in this offseason that have been the heart and soul of the team, the veterans of the team for the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
They're all out, Joe. They're gone.
Yeah, and I agree
Mitch
with you.
Morse at center, all the Tre'Davious White. You go on, Hyde.
Yeah, but they're older guys. You know what?
Exactly.
You know,
and you got to move new guys in.
Is? But the nucleus is Josh Allen. That is the nucleus. And in the NFL,
you're always alive when you have a quarterback like him.
But
you're
that's
always
my
in
point, though. But that is my point. We're not talking about Zach Wilson at quarterback. We're talking about Josh Allen. Now, granted, he hasn't won a championship like Joey Silk, okay? But he's there. And let me ask you, are the Philadelphia Eagles taking a step back with Jalen Hurts? Are they trying to lose this year? No. Is Dak and Dallas trying to lose this year? I mean, come on.
Just remember something. Before you do that, just remember something. Joey Silk won a championship in college with one of the most stacked rosters in the history of the sport. So just remember that.
And he also took his team to back-to-back championship games.
He did.
Something that Josh Allen hasn't done right
now. One more
Buffalo
championship game than Allen's been to. One more than Allen's been to.
But Buffalo fans, all right, are craving to get back to the championship. It's do or die as it relates to the championship. You don't get anywhere close, they're going to implode.
They won't be there this year.
Well, guess what? Sean McDermott won't be there next year either if he doesn't get
I can guarantee you he'll be there next year. He will get a free pass this year.
I'll say, I'm not even a Bills fan. No shot.
Guaranteed.
No shot. You didn't even see this coming. No shot.
They go 10-7 and win the AFC East and lose in the first round. He will not get fired. I will give you that right now.
I'll tell you this right now. No shot.
Okay, we'll see, Joe. We'll save the tape, as we always like to say.
Keep the tape, hero.
And like I said, we could do this more tonight. We'll have a more far-ranging discussion about this. But first, we haven't really, in fact, not really, we haven't spent any time on the other side of this trade. So let's just do that quickly, Joe, for the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud, year number 2, will now get, we've seen Joe Mixon go there. Now you put Stefon Diggs in there. You add him, of course, to Nico Collins and Tank Dell coming back at some point. And you have a pretty explosive offense for C.J. Stroud in year 2. But I got to tell you, Joe, I was pretty surprised with how much the number moved with the Diggs acquisition. Now, I'm sure they're going to get a good year out of Diggs because he's probably going to be motivated his first year there. But, Joe, I mean, look at the movement here where they jumped in the Super Bowl as they were, I believe it's up there, 22-1 they were to win the Super Bowl. And they move all the way up, 25, Joe, to 15. AFC 12 to 850. That's a very big jump, Joe, off of getting Stefon Diggs. A very big jump.
It is, Carver, but it's a great fit in Houston, right? And not only that, I believe he has tread on the tire, right? He hasn't dealt with injuries. He just lack of productivity. Now, was part of that playing with Josh Allen? And you and I talked about this, too, in terms of the locker room perspective. Was he all bought in? That's another factor. With C.J. Stroud, he has the ability to be maybe rejuvenated, to your point. But it's not just Stefon Diggs and Joe Mixon. I mean, Dalton Schultz comes back, right? You have Xavier Hutchinson with Tank Dell. That's a pretty good option as well. The tertiary wide receivers outside of Nico Collins are there. And this is an offense that's going to evolve. And in year number 2, with DeMeco Ryans at the helm, especially on the defensive side of the ball with Will Anderson, this defense has an opportunity to be much better than your Buffalo Bills.
I guess it's possible, Joe. Anything's possible, that's for sure. But Texans are going to be a very, very trendy pick.
Joe Public.
Very trendy pick. And I think that Diggs will play well there in the first year. I do. I think there was a lot of things that factored into those last 10 games and his playoff performance against the Kansas City Chiefs. So there you go, Joe. Look at Joe getting a ton of football talk in the first hour today. That gets Joe very excited. Very excited. Very excited. I told you I have some other games that are starting here within the hour. In fact, Joe, this Red Philly game, which is Zach Wheeler against Frankie Montas, which was supposed to be 1 o'clock. Yesterday, he moved it to 4 o'clock. And now I'm seeing, Joe, that they might be waiting even longer to start this game between the Phillies and the Reds. Phillies right now minus 185. Reds plus $1.50. 7.5 is the total. It's anticipated, Joe, that yes, this may start with a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, Carver, that game last night, you and I were on the radio. It was 2-1 in the 7th inning before they exploded for 13 runs total. I mean, unbelievable in terms of Bryce Harper. We had 3 home runs, the grand slam in the 8th inning or 7th inning. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, just an unbelievable output from basically the last 3, innings in that matchup. I can only look here to the Phillies. I think they're the right side. But again, that 7.5 total is a little intriguing. Weather is a little bit wet outside. I might stay away.
You might stay away, Joe. How about that?
I like the Phillies, though.
The Mariners and the Guardians will finish off a 3-game series in Seattle coming up here just after the top of the hour. You're going to have Logan Allen and Kirby's Dreamland. George Kirby going today. Mariners minus 150. Guardians plus $1.25. Another low 7.5 total, Joe. Last night they had a flat 7 on this game. And where did it end, Joe? Right on 7. 5-2. Was the final. I could see another low-scoring game here on a little getaway day out in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, probably 3-2, but I'm going to take the Guardians. I think they grind it out somehow, some way. Not sold on Seattle. We saw this with Seattle last year, Carver, where they start slow, right? For some reason, they can't catch it into gear for some reason. Very slow start right now, and, they struggle with the Red Sox. They split. They should have at least won 3 of the 4. I like the Guardians here, and I even, again, maybe you want to take them on the run line plus the 1.5. I'll take that and throw it in a parlay as well, maybe.
And finally, Joe, of the afternoon action, the Cardinals are going for the sweep in San Diego against the Padres. Zach Thompson and Joe Musgrove, the starters here, minus 160 for San Diego, plus $1.35 for the Redbirds. Another 8.5 total. In this one, Joe, Thompson was lit up in his first start against the Dodgers. Got to be Padres today, right, Joe? Got to be Padres.
I'm going
today.
Cards. I'm going. This game,
wow.
I was on the
Sweep
over
them
last
away,
night. That game
Joe
smashed me last night. I was on the over 8. We had 5-2. We had bases loaded, 1 out by the Cardinals, and they couldn't convert. A terrible performance. I needed 1 more run just to push. Flat 8. I hope the Padres get smashed. Give me the Cardinals. I had Machado for a double last night. Nothing.
Yeah, he didn't get you that. The Rangers did beat the Rays 4-1. That's a final in Tampa. Angels are going to send the Marlins to 0-7. It is 10-2 going to the bottom of the 9th inning. So a big sweep for the Angels on the road. Twins now lead the Brewers 6-3. That gets over the 8.5 first, Joe. And the Yankees and the Diamondbacks go to the 2nd inning. The Red Sox and the A's go to the 2nd inning as well. All right, Ferrall Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty. SportsGrid Radio will come back. We got a lot more to do. Keep rocking on the grid right after this.
NC State, the Cinderella story continues.
It creates a double team and then gets an assist. 3 assists already. Everything's going through the big man.
Maybe one of the most dominant runs now with double-digit wins in 2 straight NCAA tournaments we have seen in quite some time in the Big Ten.
Zach Edey does throw elbows. Zach Edey does duck in with his shoulder. Zach Edey does initiate a lot of contact.
Bama runs a style that can challenge them and upset them.
only on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
So I'm not sure Alabama's the team to knock them off from this second consecutive national championship chase. But what will be the key for the Crimson Tide if they can even cover a number?
That wing ball screen action and how you defend that is going to be a problem because of Donovan Clingan, it forces you to change so much what you do defensively if he's able to score inside.
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk all you want about how fat he is. No one can guard him. No one can stop him. He's a violent offender. He does whatever he wants in the low block and at the 10. He just does whatever he wants and scores at will, ad nauseum.
They're the Mike Tyson of college basketball. At some point, they're going to throw a haymaker. And when it connects, Ferrall, you're not getting up.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We are back. Ferrall Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. You mentioned before, Joe, when we were previewing that Philly Red game, that is officially going to be in a delay. They will not start at 4:05 East as they anticipated with the weather in Philadelphia. You mentioned last night, Bryce Harper was 0 for 11 to start the year going into last night. Well, he changed that, Joe, in a fairly big way. Not one, not two, but 3 homers. The hat trick for Bryce on NBC Sports Philadelphia.
Lefty on lefty. Yeah, it's hooked deep to right center field. No doubt about it. A 3-homer game. He caps it off with a grand slam. What a night to be Bryce Harper. 2 solo home runs, a grand slam, and the Phillies lead it 8-1.
How about that, Joe?
Want to take him for 50? Want to take him? We said Schwarber. You want to take him?
I mean, he's off to a good start. He got 3 in one game, so
I know, but I'm just saying, I just feel like when he's healthy, he's good. It's amazing that. But I'm saying
good.
He doesn't.
But he's
but
not
he doesn't
really,
get mentioned.
I'll say
he
this
doesn't
though,
get
Joe.
mentioned
He's
elite though, Carver.
But
Trout and
he
Ohtani.
absolutely does get mentioned as elite. He gets mentioned as elite, but he's not a 50 home run type of guy. He does a lot of things. He hits a ton of doubles, drives in a lot of runs, and I wouldn't put him in that pure power hitter, 50-plus homer type range. I'm sure if we looked, probably low mid 40s is probably his max that he's hit in his career in terms of one season. He's obviously got MVP awards to show it, Joe. He's an elite player, no doubt, but not a 50-plus homer guy, Joe. I don't think that we'd be going there. We'll come back We have a lot more to do. We have games tonight to look at, Final Four. We've got the golf next hour. Very busy. Ferrall Coast to Coast, hour 2 next after this.